Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host this morning. We have a great show for you lined up. We have we'll be running from 6 a.m. till 9 a.m. this morning. And we'll be joined at around 8:15 or so by Lieutenant Governor Peter Kinder. Lieutenant Governor Kinder will be talking with us about the implementation of the Real ID Act in Missouri in direct violation of Missouri state law. And if you folks ever wanted to see an example of nullification or interposition in action, and those two words should be ones that you thoroughly understand and are familiar with, then I would encourage you to make sure that you're here for that particular discussion. It'll run from about 8:15 until about 8:45 or 9 a.m. this morning. And Mr. Kinder will be giving us an update on the temporary restraining order and the injunction which they've gotten against the state of Missouri, utilizing facial recognition and database information in violation of our state law, and yet in compliance with the federal Real ID Act. Now, for those of you who don't understand what the concept of nullification/interposition is about, let me clarify it for you so that you understand it. Nullification is the principle where a state says it doesn't really matter what the federal government passes as a legislative initiative or law, rule, regulation, what have you. We here in the state of Missouri, as an example, will not enforce that law, and it is considered null and void on its face. Now, in 2005, the federal government passed the Real ID Act. That was an act which basically will force through your driver's license, force a national ID card on everyone. Now, we've all heard before about the arguments about national ID cards. No one really wants them except the government. And we realize that national identification for American citizens is a problem. Now, if you're an illegal alien, hey, I suggest we give them a national ID card, one stamped illegal. In fact, I go so far as to say we ought to tattoo on their forehead the word illegal and then kick them back across the border. And then when they come back over the border again, we make sure that we can identify them quickly and easily. So the concept of a Real ID Act means that the federal government can capture and take information from you at the point where you apply for your driver's license. Now, what they're doing is they're using facial recognition software. They're using biometric data, including retinal scans. They are putting all of your life history and scans of your birth certificate and any kind of proof documentation that you use to verify you're actually you, all into a database. Now, in 2005, when Real ID was passed, there were about 11 states that said, oh, no. We're not buying into this. This is a national ID card under another name. And it includes an RFID chip in the card. It's called the Gold Star. And theoretically, when you get pulled over, the police officer, or if you're in some kind of a scenario where they need to know who you are, they'd be able to read everything right off your ID chip, your RFID chip. For those of us concerned with privacy and with the ability to maintain our personal anonymity, we have a problem with that. So essentially, Missouri said, we are not going to adhere to Real ID. In fact, we're so against Real ID that we are passing a law in 2009 that says Real ID not only cannot be implemented in the state of Missouri, but it's against the law to scan in a driver's license and put personally identifiable information on the driver's license. So Missouri received a grant from the Department of Homeland Security and decided to do an end run around our own legislation. That's the Department of Revenue. Missouri driver's license operations are run by the Department of Revenue. Oh, by the way, you thought registration of your vehicle and the charge and the fees that you pay for your driver's license were not a tax? Interesting. Notice who owns the motor vehicle offices. The Department of Revenue. So now, if you attempt to go into a motor vehicle office and renew your driver's license, they want to see your birth certificate. They want to see other identifiable information, Social Security card. If you have a concealed carry permit, you have to produce the document that says you're authorized by your local sheriff to have that you've passed through the course, blah, blah, blah. That if you have a commercial driver's license, you've got to produce the documentation to support that, and so forth and so on. They then turn around and scan all this information in and forward it to a company by the name of Morpho Trust. That's M-O-R-P-H-O, Trust. And they also go by the name of Safran, S-A-F-R-A-N. So essentially, what's happening here is the concept of Real ID is being employed. They're just not calling it Real ID. There is an RFID chip in your driver's license, contrary to the law, and contrary to what actually the state of Missouri has declared is the law. And which confounds me, because I don't understand how a state agency thinks that they have the right and has the absolute audacity to defy a state law because the federal government tells them to. I mean, who these people think they are? This information is then transmitted to Morpho Trust, a.k.a. Safran, who then enters it into a database that is the same database used for Real ID, and then mails you back your driver's license with an RFID chip inside, which they claim isn't being used. Here's what Morpho Trust and Safran are then doing with that information. They're building a national database on every American. This is then being forwarded to the federal government, who now knows that you are a concealed carry holder and therefore a what? Gun owner. And that is, in fact, a de facto registration of all firearms. Is it not? I mean, if they know that you're a gun owner because you have a CCW, and obviously the two go hand in hand, then they also know exactly who owns all the guns. So, Morpho Trust and Safran then take all this information, compile it, forward it to the federal government, say, here you go, here's this database for everybody in Missouri. Oh, and by the way, they also share it with the Caribbean island nations, the nation of Mexico, and the nation of Canada, among others. Why, you ask? Well, because your driver's license is now the equivalent to a passport when you go to any of those foreign countries. Say it's not a national ID? I think not. It is a national ID. It is the equivalent of a passport. The goal is to eliminate having to have passports. And when you cross the border and you flash your happy little Real ID, all of your database on the RFID chip is scanned into the Mexican, Canadian, Caribbean, whatever database, and updated, of course, and which builds you in as a world citizen. So, Peter Kinder, Lieutenant Governor, and a gentleman down in Stoddard County, who is a prosecutor down there, filed a lawsuit on behalf of a gentleman who indicated that it was unconstitutional and against state law for his birth certificate and his concealed carry permit and so forth to be scanned in and imported into this database. They received a temporary restraining order from a judge. There was a hearing to be held on March 12th, And that hearing will determine whether or not this temporary restraining order, number one, will be made permanent. And number two, the restraining order is, of course, right now for the purposes of this exercise and waiting for the hearing, only applicable in Stoddard County. However, it specifically bans motor vehicle from scanning in people's birth certificates during the course of this short period. It's about a 10-day period. So where we stand now is that there is a very clear and specific mandate against the implementation of Real ID. It is our state law. There is a federal law for Real ID. We have the right to ignore it. We've passed legislation to do so. Our Department of Revenue has turned around and cut our throats and stabbed us in the back in an effort to comply with federal law, even against their own state law. What do you call that? I can think of a good word for it. What do you call it? It starts with a T. We're going to get an update from Mr. Kinder at about 8:15. He's going to give us the skinny on where this is going, his impressions on how it'll pan out, and the implications of it. Because what I'm looking for is a statewide sledgehammer smash on the head of the Department of Revenue. The Department of Revenue is directly lying to the citizens of Missouri. They work for us, and they are lying and have betrayed us. I got a problem with that. How about you? You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host this morning. We're going to open up our phone lines in just a minute. Anyone interested after this break, you're welcome to call in here. You can call us on the Wits End Classic Barbershop Hotline at 417-257-1111 and 866-554-6636.
The area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry. Top-of-the-line handguns from Kimber, Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Glock, Beretta, and many more. A wide selection of ammunition, including blanks, centerfire handgun and rifle, rimfire, a variety of shotgun shells, target, and turkey. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
I know what you're thinking, Bunk. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5?
Dirty Harry gets all his ammo from the battery station. John Rambo, you guessed it. He gets his ammo from the battery station, too. So if you need ammo, go to the place where the guys who know about ammunition go, the battery station. They have one of the largest supplies of ammunition in the area. So make sure you're stocked up and don't get low on shells. Go to the battery station at 303 Washington Avenue in West Plains.
I'm going to play you a clip from KMBC TV, where they did a story on this, just so that you can hear the fact that, one, how the press is addressing it, but also the fact that this is getting national, and at this point, of course, statewide as well. This is a Kansas City station, and that we're getting both national and state attention on this issue. And I think it's great, the fact that we are able to identify and see the fact that our state is being betrayed by our state.
Has learned many, if not all, Missouri license bureaus are collecting personal information from people seeking concealed weapons permits. And some say that may be against the law. KBC 9's Michael Mahoney is breaking the story tonight and joins us live. Michael?
Right. The owner of an area fee office, which is a driver's license bureau like the one behind me here, says that almost all of the 183 offices in the state of Missouri collect this personal information from people applying for concealed weapons permits. Now, this could turn into a big issue over gun rights and privacy. In Missouri, you get a concealed weapons permit from the sheriff. The driver's license bureau gets involved because that's where you go to get your license changed.
And they will put an endorsement on your state ID card or driver's license stating that you have a license to carry.
This data goes to the Department of Revenue. However, the concealed weapons law is clear. This is not to be public information. Now, the people who collect that information, the fee office clerks, don't work for the state. They're hired by that fee office.
Well, it's private information. Nobody wants their private affairs exposed.
I think it's not public information to know who owns a gun, you know. It should be kept private and between the sheriff's office and that person. You know, simple as that.
The fee agent, who says the collections are done throughout the state, wouldn't go on camera. Says the Department of Revenue told agents, don't talk to reporters about this. And in Jefferson City, Republicans may use the issue to go after Democratic Governor Jay Nixon's administration with high-profile hearings, charges of subterranean gun registration, and threats to personal safety.
Abused spouses, abused women mostly, have gone to great lengths to avoid being in a public database, and of course they have to give their real names and real addresses.
Now, we tried to reach the Department of Revenue for comment on this story. They did not return our calls after a fee agent here in the Kansas City area says almost all of these such offices around the state are collecting the concealed weapon application permit information and passing it back on. That's the latest on this. Back to you.
Michael, thank you. There are more than 160,000 concealed weapon permits in Missouri alone, and that number is on the rise.
So that tells you exactly how the whole issue is being treated by the press. Now, with all due respect, and I get the press, they want to make the most sensational news the most important. However, I think it's more than just about gun permit data, because there's lots. If there's 160,000 CCW permits in the state of Missouri, that means that there's some 1.5 million non-CCW driver's licenses. So basically what you're saying is that you don't have the right to take this information over CCW, but you might for something else. I beg to differ. The state law is very, very clear. No part of Real ID may be implemented, and it specifically says that you may not use facial recognition, that you may not use biometric data, that you may not incorporate an RFID chip. Now, this just goes to show you, folks, the depth to which our own government and our state government in specificity will go to betray us. And it is exactly that. It's a betrayal. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but it's a betrayal. It's a betrayal of the people whom we have entrusted to deal with our affairs as delegated representatives. But we didn't give them the right to take our personal security and information and hand it out all over the place. I mean, if your boss gives you his personal cell phone number and his personal home address and invites you to go to his home for a nice evening dinner, and he gives you the names of his children, and you take some photographs while you're there, and you meet his wife, and you're invited to his summer residence where he has a place down at a lake or down at the beach or whatever. Is it within the purview of anything acceptable ethically, morally, or legally for you to then take all of that information and distribute it to someone else without his permission and authorization? I don't think so. Now, if he specifically says, hey, anything that you know about me, you are legally barred. I'm telling you right now, do not ever give out my personal cell phone. Never tell anyone where I live. Never give out my home address. These pictures are for you to view and only for you and your family to view, and you may never show a picture of my children or my wife or my home anywhere else. They are not for public dissemination on the internet. They are not for you to be shared with anyone. You are under a non-disclosure agreement that you will never disclose the information which I've given to you. Is that an even more egregious breach of the trust? I mean, it's one thing if he doesn't say, hey, you're barred from ever doing that, and you're not under a non-disclosure. But when your boss specifically says to you, you are under a non-disclosure agreement and you may never give my information out to anyone else, and you do anyway, is that not a betrayal Is that not a betrayal? Let me explain to you the import of what this means. Because you didn't betray your boss. You betrayed everyone above you in the company. You betrayed your boss, his boss, his boss, his boss's boss, every other employee in the company. Those other employees and their bosses and all of the other people in the company have a right to come down on you like a ton of bricks because you violated the trust with which you were given. If you are the inside knowledge expert and you work for a large corporation and you are the chief financial officer of that corporation and two companies decide that they're going to go into negotiations and merge, and you are a party to some private information. Who is the merger partner? How much are they paying for the company? How much is the stock worth? What will that stock do when the merger occurs? Will it go up? Will it go down? If you are given that private information as an employee of the company because it's on a need-to-know basis, and you're the CFO after all, so you're obviously going to be involved in the discussions and negotiations, right? And then you turn around and you dispense that information and call someone up and say, hey, listen, we're doing a merger, and I want you to go over there and open up an account, and I want you to buy $50,000 worth of stock because this stock is going to go through the roof. As soon as this merger gets announced, this stock is going to climb through the roof. And he or she does that for you? That's called insider trading. And there's lots and lots and lots of white-collar federal prisoners right now who are in the Hooskow for exactly that. Is that any different than you entrusting your personal information to your government? I don't think so. It's called insider trading. And I, for one, am tired of our government betraying us at every turn. When is America going to wake up and say, this government acts on a daily basis as an enemy of the state, as an enemy of our state, as an enemy of our state of life, of our state of liberty, of our state of privacy, of our state of sovereignty? Life, liberty, ownership of property, and pursuit of happiness. Those are the four tenets that every human being who currently lives and breathes is entitled to. Not just Americans, by the way. Everyone. Why do we say that? Well, because if you're entitled to it by God and nature's God, then so are they, because they're also a product of that. That's logic. It doesn't matter whether they live in Canada. Doesn't matter if they live in Venezuela. Doesn't matter if they live in Zambia. Doesn't matter if they live in Timbuktu. They're entitled to the same privileges of life, liberty, property ownership, and the pursuit of happiness that you're entitled to. We don't have special dispensation in that regard. Now, we declare it, they don't. That's on them. However, when we have put our government on notice that we expect them to honor, and not just honor, but respect those rights, and our government betrays us, our government is the enemy of our state. That's right. The government is the enemy of our state. We'll be back in a moment. We're going to expand on this idea and this theory. You'd like to call in after the break, you're welcome to do that.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. In Afghanistan, At least 9 dead after a suicide bombing in Kabul. That's where the U.S. Defense Secretary is visiting with troops and officials.
No matter how it feels after 10 years of war in Afghanistan, Chuck Hagel says
it was never the intention of the United States to stay in Afghanistan indefinitely.
Hagel says President Obama's goal of Afghan forces taking over their own fighting by the end of next year is achievable. He's telling soldiers that he will get them what they need to finish their fight and come home safe.
Fox Radio's Steve Taylor. They're battling over budget issues in the weekly addresses. The president saying he's reaching out to lawmakers on both sides to loosen the gridlock. Republicans say they're worried Senate Democrats will unveil a budget next week that won't curb our debt. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Get a hold of Brian down at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance. You can call him at 870-492-4030, or you can find him on the web at ozarkmtnselfreliance.com. Located a half-mile east of Walmart on Route 62 in Mountain Home. My friends over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery at 255-2253, number 2 Evans Arcade off the square in West Plains. Best damn bakery in 100 miles. You can reach Mary at 255-2253. My friend Bill Stone over at Stone Construction at 293-0116. Whether remodeling or doing new or custom construction or light commercial, Bill's the guy for you. 293-0116. West Plains Pawn and Gun, located on Route 160, just about a mile east of Walmart on the right-hand side. westplainspawn.com. You can also reach them by a telephone at 417-256-3000. Friends over at the battery station at 303 Washington Avenue, right off the square in West Plains. You can find them on the web at batterystation.com, and you can call them at 417-257-7799. Also, don't forget to stop by Pizza Hut for an outstanding lunch special between 11 and 2. Salad and pasta all together. You can also visit them on Tuesday evenings for family night. Kids eat free under 12. And Jason over at Wits End Classic Barbershop, the sponsor of our telephone line. Make sure that you see Wits End Classic Barbershop for your next shave and a haircut. Outstanding, fine young man and a great patriot as well. He's on the square in West Plains.
The Donut Palace in West Plains, where the customer is still king. If you're a school group, church group, sports team, or any group function, book it with the Donut Palace. Order 24 hours in advance and at least 3 dozen to receive 10% off your bill, and you won't have the burden of paying tax either. Open 7 days a week from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. except Sundays when they close at 1. Call today at 417-256-0606 to have delicious hot and fresh donuts at your next meeting. Located at 914 Broadway in West Plains, the Donut Palace.
Weather sponsorships are now available on News Talk 107.1 The Point. Get more information, email info@diamondmediaradio.com for complete details.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, partly sunny skies, high near 63. Winds could gust as high as 26 miles per hour. Later on, periods of showers, possibly a thunderstorm, a low around 51. Winds could gust as high as 22 miles per hour. I'm Dawn James, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
There is this product on Amazon that is simply going crazy. The banana slicer, almost 2,500 consumer reviews. I've been trying to come up with an ideal way to slice a banana. Use a knife, they say. Well, my parole officer won't let me around knives. Or how about this one? What can I say about the banana slicer that hasn't already been said about the wheel or penicillin? Obviously, just a pure hoax.
Saturdays noon to 3 and weekdays at 7:35 for your Digital Minute. It's Kim Commando on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
Okay, we're back. You know what's critically important for us to understand? And I think most Americans forget this because we live in a lap of luxury. We live where we have what we perceive to be a lot of freedom to move about and come and go without boundaries, and we don't have checkpoints, and we've been lulled to sleep by the quality of the lifestyle that we live. And we've been indoctrinated after years and years and decades of school to believe that our government actually operates on our behalf in a fair and equitable manner. And that's not true. I hate to burst your bubble, but it's not. Our government, both our state and our federal governments, violate our rights to operate and the principles of life, liberty, property ownership, and the pursuit of happiness every single day. I mean, what you don't understand is that you don't recognize it because of the pot and the frog syndrome, that your liberties have been stolen from you day in and day out for so long that you don't even know it's happened. And it's reinforced everywhere that you go that government is your benefactor. Government is the beneficent big brother. Government is your daddy and your mommy and your grandpa. Trust us. We're doing what's best for you, even when sometimes it doesn't seem that way. What you don't realize is that the minute that you leave the room, they're laughing up their sleeve at how they have absconded with all of the basic rights that we have been given by our founders through our Bill of Rights. Your ability to own a firearm is very clearly delineated in the Second Amendment, where it says, shall not be infringed. The right to bear arms shall not be infringed. There's nothing ambiguous about that. Shall not be infringed is very clear. I don't care, even if you never spent a day in school, if you can communicate, if you can speak, shall not be infringed means exactly what it says. You don't have to have a political science degree. You don't have to have a poli-sci PhD. You don't have to have a job in government. You don't have to have a job in the private sector. Any idiot, any knucklehead can tell you that shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. May not, cannot, is not, will not. Shall is a very definitive term. And yet our Second Amendment is the one of the 10th Amendment or Bill of Rights that we have codified in writing as unalienable or unalienable, depending upon how you want to approach that. And that's a whole dialogue for a separate day. That is the one right that has been the most infringed. It has. Why? Because the people who benefit the most from that infringement don't like it. Well, any law that infringes that right, whether that's your right to carry a weapon. I mean, I consider CCW to be an infringement. I don't need the government's permission to carry or possess or own a weapon. A 4473 that you fill out at a firearms dealer is an infringement. Yes, it is. You don't like that, you say. I don't really give a darn. Because what you don't understand is that when you give an inch, they take a mile. It's the old foot in the door syndrome. If the Second Amendment doesn't apply to modern firearms, you know, your assault weapons, your AR-15s, you know, if it doesn't apply to the Barrett 50, if the Second Amendment doesn't apply to a machine gun because they're modern and our forefathers couldn't possibly have understood what the value was going to be of these items. They didn't anticipate that people were going to have machine guns. Oh, my goodness. The Second Amendment doesn't apply to that. They didn't understand that that was going to be the case. They never thought that people could have a machine gun. They were down to muskets and flintlocks. I agree. At their time, the principle of the Second Amendment was that it applied to whatever it was that was the equivalent weapon that the government used. So if the Second Amendment doesn't apply to modern guns because our forefathers couldn't have foreseen that, then the First Amendment doesn't apply to television, news, the internet, newspapers, radio, does it? Well, that's not the same thing. Oh, yes, it is. It is the same thing. Why is it not the same thing? Our founders couldn't have foreseen radio. They couldn't have foreseen television. They couldn't have foreseen the internet. And I can tell you this, that when they tried to pass a law in 1797 called the Alien and Sedition Act, and I want you to look these up, our founders jumped up and said, whoa, that's a First Amendment violation, specifically the Sedition Act. Look up the Sedition Act. I want you to educate yourself about what the Sedition Act was. This was an act passed by Congress, signed by the President. George Washington was still alive, by the way, at this time. He retired, but he was still alive. He was almost on his deathbed. And at that point in time, they passed a law called the Sedition Act, which barred you from criticizing government officials. Now, would you call that a First Amendment violation? Because you want to call Barack Obama Barack Obama? I would. Because you want to criticize the way your representatives voted against your best interest? Because you want to criticize the way that Dianne Feinstein or Nancy Pelosi has been abusing their privileges of office? You have a right to talk about that. Don't you? I mean, well, I believe we do. I do it every day. And it's not just limited to Pelosi and Feinstein, by the way. It's all of the Republican senators, too. And congressmen. You'll hear me throw them all under the bus. There's very, very few up there that I consider worth their salt. Now, the Alien and Sedition Acts, and let's specify the Sedition Act, because that's the one that's really pertinent to the First Amendment, said that you could be thrown in prison for denouncing a government official. And they did. Hundreds. And two states stood up, Virginia and Kentucky, and said, wait a minute. You can't do that. That's a violation of our First Amendment right to free speech and to redress our grievances with our own government. With words, lest we have to resort to the Second Amendment to resolve these differences. Now you see why the Second Amendment is in second position. Because the First Amendment gives us the right to resolve it with words, logic, reason. The Second Amendment does not. And as peace-loving individuals who only want the best for ourselves and our nation and our families, we want to try to resolve things amicably. We want agreement. We want to be able to look another person in the eye and say, what you're doing is not right. Please stop. You don't want to resort to just pulling out a gun and firing on them. I mean, logic dictates that even if a burglar comes into your home and you're standing there and unbeknownst to him, you're at the end of the hallway with a shotgun. And what do you say? Stop. Leave the house immediately. Those are words, folks. Because we try to resolve things peacefully. That's why the First Amendment is first, and the Second Amendment is second. And if the Second Amendment doesn't apply to modern weapons, then the First Amendment doesn't apply to modern media. That, ladies and gentlemen, is logic and reason. Try and find anybody in the mainstream who will tell you that. Whoops. I just peeled off the scab with a Band-Aid. We'll be right back.
The area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, your Class 3 dealer for automatic weapons and suppressors, including Gemtech and Huntertown, with a great selection of holsters, slings, magazines, and gun storage options. West Plains Pawn and Jewelry will also do special orders. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
Napa Auto Parts in West Plains has this breaking news announcement. If you've got a British car and it quits, if you've got a Japanese car and it quits, if you've got a German car and it quits, come into Napa Auto Parts in West Plains, right across from the Civic Center. They speak automobile fluently. Yes, they do. And may be able to help you find the right parts to bring your car new life. Call ahead to reserve parts, 256-0131, or stop by 311 St. Louis Street, across from the Civics.
Hi, this is Sheila Murphy, store manager at Big Lots. We're located in the Southern Hills Shopping Center in West Plains, Missouri. Southern Hills is home to the best shopping establishment in South Central Missouri. Come visit some of your favorite department stores, and if a full day of shopping is on your list, there are also plenty of great places to eat when you get hungry, and they're all within walking distance. Southern Hills is the largest shopping center in the area and has everything you will be looking for. No need to leave West Plains. Stay local and shop local with Southern Hills Shopping Center. Proud to serve West Plains and the surrounding communities.
Hi, it's Hugh Hewitt on the next Hugh Hewitt Show. I am back, and I am happy to bring you up to speed as we loom closer and closer to the sequestration, as the Cardinals begin to gather in Rome, as all sorts of news from around the world collects. I will be your Sherpa through that complexity, all on the next Hugh Hewitt Show.
Sundays from 6 till 7, following Money Talk with Bob Brinker, it's the Weekend Journal with Hugh Hewitt on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
So are we not entitled to the same privileges of the second, or the same rights under the second as we are under the first? I have a problem with trying to differentiate how the first and the second are different. They're not. Welcome to the show, caller. Go ahead. Caller, you're on the line. Okay. Hello. Maybe it's just too early in the morning for that caller. Have a cup of coffee and then call me back. You know, everybody wants to talk about the fact that there's more to it, right? I disagree. There's not more to it. It's exactly what it sounds like. You're either in betrayal or you're not. You can't sit there and differentiate and say that the first and the second are two different things. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show. So, the issue is, why is it that you can say that the First Amendment applies across the board, especially to the folks in the media? Oh, you can't suppress us from talking. We can write whatever we want in our New York Times and our Wall Street Journal. We're entitled to say everything that we want, says the Chicago Tribune. Are you going to try and tell me that words don't hurt people? Are you going to try and tell me that words don't kill? Well, there's limits on the First Amendment. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. Oh, that argument just kills me. That argument just kills me. Of course you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. You also can't walk around with a gun and randomly shoot people. No one's saying that either of those things are acceptable. No one. But you can use words to defuse a situation where your government is out of control. And in the event that that fails, you can use firearms to back up your play. That's the whole point. Period. That's how it works, folks. You try to resolve it with language, and when that fails, if it fails, the second is there to act as the backstop. The Second Amendment is nothing more than a mad policy. Oh my God, what did he just say? The Second Amendment is the policy of MAD. Mutually assured destruction. This guy's crazy. I don't know what he's thinking. I'm thinking with logic and reason, and I'm applying the principles and ideals and concepts and precepts that our founders gave us to think about. No, you're not. You're some kind of right-wing kook. No. The principle of mutually assured destruction has been employed by our government against Russia, China, Pakistan, India, North Korea, Israel, and all the other nuclear states. This guy is loopy. I don't get it. Well, the principle is this. You throw a bomb at me, I'm going to throw 10 back at you. That's the idea. And it will assure that we are mutually destroyed. The Second Amendment says, you fire on us as the citizens who have provided you with the authority and the power by which you have any authority, and if you violate our trust and you begin to abuse us and tyrannize us, we will bring you down. It's called mutually assured destruction. That's the whole point, folks. It's never to be used. Never. It is never intended to be used. It's there as a safeguard. It is not intended for use. The Second Amendment is there to ensure that the First works properly. That's all it does. The First Amendment is our one primary recourse. We have a right to resolve our differences with words. We have a right to redress our grievances with our government. We have a right to address them, say what we need to say, accuse them, if they are out of line, of acting against our best interest. So the Second Amendment does apply to modern firearms. Because if it doesn't, then we really aren't in a position to utilize the full strength and power and threat of mutually assured destruction. You wouldn't sit there and feel that the policy of mutually assured destruction would operate if it was the United States against the country of Namibia, because the most that Namibia could muster might be a few hundred tanks, but they don't have nuclear weapons. You see, MAD only works when two powers are equally armed. Well, that caused the arms race, which was terrible for everybody. Well, in the case of an arms race, that's between two different nations who have opposing interests. We, as a government and a people who have employed that government to operate on our behalf, should not have opposing interests. This logic should be flowing up your nose like smoke, choking the liberalness out of you. You see, in a MAD scenario, we're assuming that the government has become so tyrannical that we don't have a choice, that we must protect ourselves against tyranny. And at that point, MAD must apply. It absolutely, definitively must. And we must be equally armed or equally prepared to apply the principles of MAD. What that means is that we can't all be running around with flintlocks. Because, again, we can't defend ourselves, as Namibia can't, against a nuclear power. The whole idea of MAD is a balance of power. And if we are disarmed, the balance is gone. If we are not similarly equipped, the balance is gone. If we are not equally prepared, the balance is gone. And if the balance is gone, what prevents the government from then overstepping the First Amendment? Nothing. Nothing. Not a single thing. Do we understand now why this is so critically important? If you have ever had a concern about why the Second Amendment should apply, this argument, and I want you to take it and I want you to listen to it again. It's on YouTube. I'll give it to you if I have to transcribe it in writing. But I want you to ruminate on this. I want you to chew on this. I want you to roll this around in your mouth like a glass of wine. I want you to taste it. I want you to smell it. I want you to swallow it. And I want you to understand it fully. Because it is the one thing that truly, truly, truly matters. This is the principle that matters. This is the reason why the Second Amendment is so critical to our survival. We'll be right back.
News Talk for Missouri and Arkansas. 107.1 KBMV, Birch Tree, West Plains. The Point.
Fox News Radio. I'm Chris Foster. A pair of suicide bombings in Afghanistan. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel in Kabul at the time when the first went off, killing 9 people in another part of the city, though. The Taliban claims responsibility for that, saying it was sending a message. Another bomb soon after in Khost province, Afghanistan in the east, kills another 9 people. President Obama says the drop in unemployment last month's encouraging, but could be better if not for fights over the federal budget.
Jobs back to America. Our stock market has rebounded. New homes are being built and sold at a faster pace. And we need to do everything we can to keep that momentum going.
Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions for the Republicans.
We have a moral duty to balance the federal budget and bring the deficit down to zero. This is the great challenge of our time.
Senate Democrats are expected to announce a budget plan next week. Cardinals at the Vatican have till Tuesday to mull over who they want as the next pope, and then the voting starts.
Vatican spokesman Father Thomas Rosica describes the pre-conclave meetings of the cardinals as,
"This is the time to do the really serious business that helps them to go into the Sistine Chapel with a clear idea of what they're supposed to be doing and who they're supposed to elect."
Because once the conclave begins,
there's hardcore voting, prayer and voting,
and no more time for talking. Rosica also described signal jamming at the Sistine Chapel.
There will be a security net, something that prevents any electronic communication or internet.
Burning ballots will be the only way to communicate with the outside world, with over 1 billion Catholics around the world watching for the white smoke that will tell them a new pope's been elected. At the Vatican, Courtney Walsh, Fox News Radio.
Fans of an Egyptian soccer team set the Sports Federation headquarters on fire in Cairo after a court acquits 7 of 9 police officials of wrongdoing in a deadly stadium riot last year. You're listening to Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced.
When you're on the go and need to know, it's Fox News Radio, live, anytime, any place. And it's as easy as foxnewsradio.com. Listen to the most recent newscast or your favorite Fox Talk personalities. Just go to foxnewsradio.com or download the Fox News Channel app for news, video, weather, and Fox News Talk from one app on iPhone, iPad, Android, Windows Phone, and more. Go to foxnews.com/mobile. Stay connected to Fox News and Fox News Radio.
You want to know about the stories beyond the headlines? Politics, pop culture, barbecue contests, and cornbread festivals, and the general lack of common sense in almost everything these days? Well, I'm Todd Starnes, host of Fox News and Commentary. I shop at Walmart, go to church on Sunday, also something of an odd duck. But isn't that what makes life fun? Check it all out at ToddStarnes.com. You never know what you'll find. ToddStarnes.com.
I know what you're thinking, punk. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5?
Dirty Harry gets all his ammo from the battery station. John Rambo, you guessed it. He gets his ammo from the battery station, too. So if you need ammo, go to the place where the guys who know about ammunition go, the battery station. They have one of the largest supplies of ammunition in the area. So make sure you're stocked up and don't get low on shells. Go to the battery station at 303 Washington Avenue in West Plains.
Are you looking to save money? Did you know that in the last 20 years, interest rates have never been this low? That's why you should make the smart call today to West Plains Savings and Loan to start your home mortgage. Just imagine how much money you'll save. Key word is save, as in savings and loan. Your loan starts here and stays here. Never would it be sold to a secondary lender. Call today, 256-3042. That's 256-3042. West Plains Savings and Loan. Equal housing lender. Member FDIC.
News Talk 107.1 The Point weather sponsorships are available for your business marketing plans. Contact Cody or Josh at 255-2548 for more information.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, partly sunny skies, high near 63. Winds could gust as high as 26 miles per hour. Later on, periods of showers, possibly a thunderstorm, a low around 51. Winds could gust as high as 22 miles per hour. I'm Dawn James, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
Voted number 14 on Forbes' Top 100 Most Promising Companies, Anytime Fitness in West Plains offers a wide variety of fitness equipment to maximize your health and fitness goals. We proudly offer tanning, group exercise, and online support. Whether you're looking for nutrition plans, workout programs, or the simple advice to get you to the next level of fitness, Anytime Fitness has you covered. Visit us today at 1651 Gibson Street in West Plains or 1301 Highway 62 East Mountain Home, or call us at 417-255-2555. Anytime Fitness, we're the club for busy people.
It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
So the simple fact is that the Second Amendment does apply to modern firearms, and anyone who tells you differently, anyone who argues otherwise, you should have in your kit bag everything that you need to know to refute that argument properly, wisely, with reason and logic, and be articulate about it. That is the simple reality of it, folks. That is the number one and only best argument for the Second Amendment to apply. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike. Good morning.
Good morning.
I was listening, fixing my breakfast this morning for me and my wife. And
You mean it was fixing your breakfast for you and your wife and not me?
not you, no, sir. It get cold by
I'm
the
over
way.
here hungry too, you know. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just teasing you, John.
Halfway. But I must say, I just heard one of the most brilliant arguments for the Second Amendment I've ever heard.
Well, thank you.
And I think you ought to copyright it, to tell you the truth.
Well, you know, I don't know that we could copyright it, but I sure would like to get other people to understand and recognize it for what it is. Because everybody talks about how it's a right, but nobody explains why. Other than to say it's against, you know, it's a defense against tyranny. Okay, but let's explain how and why, and what's the operational example of that. This is it.
Yes, it is. The founding fathers had no idea we were going to have smartphones.
Right.
And absolutely, but guess what? No one makes the argument that you should censor political speech on cell phone.
There you go. I mean, look at Twitter. My goodness.
And the mutual assured destruction argument is also brilliant. And it applies not just to overstepping government agencies, but you need to have a mutually assured destruction policy with a local burglar that comes in.
Right.
And anybody that threatens your family, your home, yourself, or your property.
And you can you can even take this argument down to that. The mutually assured destruction principle occurs and applies even when you're at home and someone who you don't know enters your house at midnight. It's the same principle. It's just when we talk about the Second Amendment, it's enlarged for its proper context in a national environment, right? But I mean, the same applies in the microcosmic environment of your own home.
Oh, yes. It applies everywhere you exist as a living, breathing person.
Right. But everywhere that we exist as a living, breathing people, too. That's the point, is that that argument can be taken from its microscopic roots of the individual all the way and expounded out to the universe of our relationship with our government. That's the whole point of it.
And just one other comment. You know me as the ham radio guy, but you also know that I'm a pastor.
Yes, I do.
Now, let me tell you something. Our governments were not issued by a bunch of bureaucrats in Washington. Our rights, rather,
You're
are
right.
issued by God himself.
That's true.
And all gods are jealous gods. The one true living God is a very jealous God. But gods, little g gods, like governments, are also jealous. And when they take the second, they're going to go after religious freedom with a passion that would be unbelievable. They will do their best to destroy the church, take all of the monies being donated to churches used on social programs, because they know better.
Right.
And make sure that no one gets taught that there is a God, because they're a jealous God themselves.
I get it.
Proper worship. Anyway, that's all I got to say.
Well, thank you very much for your call, and I appreciate your encouragement on that. And you know, I think I will. I'll make a strip of this thing, and I'll make this the Second Amendment argument, and maybe it'll go viral enough for other people to see it and get get motivated and activated to understand and truly be informed about the real principles behind it. Because It is such a critical position, and it is such a critical argument, and it's really the only one that truly brings it in an analogy perspective that everybody fully understands.
Now, I don't have the media skills for this, but if you know somebody, they can put together a 2-minute YouTube video.
I've already got this. It'll be streaming, so I'll put it onto YouTube, and I'll make a separate video for it.
And broadcast where it is. I and others like us in this area will do our best to make it go viral.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you for the call.
Thank you, sir, for the job you do.
All right. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good morning, caller. Welcome to the show.
Yes, Michael.
Yes, sir.
I just want to point out the Constitution grants Congress the powers to promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limited times to the authors and inventors the exclusive right to the respective writings and discoveries. It's codified in the Constitution.
Right, and its actual practical application is what? Patents and copyrights.
Yeah, patent. Passed on April 10th, 1790, U.S. Patent Act.
That's right. And so there's a perfect example of why.
They definitely foresaw the advance of technology.
Right. And they knew that new inventions came out every year. I mean, they watched just to keep it in the same genre, they watched the firearm go from a cannon, right, to the blunderbuss, from the blunderbuss to the matchlock, from the matchlock to the flintlock, from the flintlock to the percussion rifle. And they knew that inventions improved the quality of products that were out there.
Yes, in fact, the first successful breech loader, the Ferguson rifle, came about during the conflict, the Revolutionary War conflict. It was being implemented by the British till a guy got himself killed at a place called Kings Mountain.
There you go. So the real issue is that, yes, they did understand that technology would come in and play a role, and they did understand that our times were going to change. But it doesn't change the purpose behind the First and the Second Amendment and their reason why they're in the order they're in. And it doesn't change the principles of MAD. In fact, it gives us the assurance that if all goes wrong, we can fall back on that principle of the Second Amendment in order to restore our country back to where it was intended originally to be.
Yes, and in fact, it emphasized that by noting that technology would increase.
Absolutely.
There would be better tools to use, and the framers certainly knew it.
So the Second Amendment absolutely applies to firearms, because I hear people say all the time, and then they bring out the argument, well, does that mean everybody ought to be able to own an Abrams tank? Does that mean everyone should be able to own an F-16? And quite honestly, my answer is yes, if you can afford that, yes.
You got the jack, yeah. Park it in our front yard and polish it.
Now, I mean, let's be honest, the vast majority of people, but that's an emotional argument, which is exactly where everybody goes down the rabbit hole on the liberal concepts, and the progressive argument, which is when logic fails them, they default to emotion.
Sure.
And that's the same scenario. I've heard the same scenario many times couched as, well, what if we were on an island? Well, these types of hypothetical questions are an entrapment. That's all they are. And they're an emotional entrapment because at some point they want you to give way and compromise based upon emotional principles instead of logic and reason. And if you look at what our founders designed in the constitutional development, it wasn't designed on emotion. It was designed on logic and reason.
Yes, our founders were some of the great thinkers of the day, Jefferson, Madison, Franklin. I mean, they were all leaders in the fields. I mean, in electricity, Franklin, Madison and Jefferson was certainly agriculture.
Right. And Jefferson invented the water clock. If you've ever had a chance to go out to Jefferson's home in Virginia, it is an absolute. I mean, there are probably 50 or 60 inventions that Thomas Jefferson invented. You know what one of them was? The auto sign. The dumbwaiter too. But one of the ones that I found the most appealing or interesting was the auto signer. In other words, it enabled him to take a pen and write a document and print it on two pieces of paper at the same time. It was the first photocopier. Well, I don't know what you call it, but it was a transcribe copier. And as he wrote, it wrote not only on the piece of paper he was writing on with his hand, but it also wrote on an adjacent piece of paper that was connected to this mechanical arm that literally held a pen, and when he dipped his inkwell into his inkwell with his quill, it dipped into a similar inkwell that was on the right. And it was the first automated copy system that had ever been invented. He invented a clock that ran on water and kept perfect time, I might add, and still to this day keeps perfect time. It's located at Monticello, which is the ancestral home or the famous home of Jefferson. And anyone who is ever out to Virginia, you've got to go to make sure that you spend time to spend a day at Monticello. It is absolutely amazing. But that's a whole other topic. The point is this, that the Second Amendment does apply to modern firearms, like the First Amendment applies to modern media. And you can't make an argument to the contrary unless you want to descend into the emotional realm, which effectively obviates the argument altogether. Because you cannot use emotion against logic and reason in the same argument, like you can't have matter and antimatter in the same location at the same point in time. And that's the long and the short of it, folks. So thank you very much for that insight on the patent issue and the concept of modern technology and how our forefathers actually saw that and recognized that it would play a role.
You are welcome.
Great point. Thanks so much for the call. Folks, it's really critically important that we understand why our amendments were drawn and drafted in the order in which they were drafted. Because most people don't get it. They just don't understand that, the amendments are in the position they're in for the reasons they're in there, or for in the order they're in. And the principle of MAD makes it painfully and obviously clear to everyone that the Second Amendment is in a second position so that we can first resolve our differences with words. And in the event that we are unable to do that and our government continues to act in a manner which is deleterious to our safety, our security, and frankly our liberty, that we have the right to exercise option 2, which is declared to be mutually assured destruction. And that's it. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to take on some other subjects, and we're going to get prepared for Mr. Kinder to join us later on this morning. I've got some news blurbs and some quick updates for you about some events that are happening locally. We'll be right back.
The area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry.
Online at westplainspawn.com.
Top of the line new and used optics from Nikon, Leopold, Burris, Redfield, Zeiss, and Schmidt & Bender. Ask about their selection of binoculars, laser sights, and night vision goggles. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms, ammunition, and accessories can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
We believe the better the ingredients, the better the taste to bring to you the greatest tasting pastries possible. At Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, we use organic, locally sourced, and natural ingredients of the highest quality. Every item is handcrafted and baked fresh for you each and every day. Visit Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, number 2 Evans Arcade on the Courthouse Square in downtown West Plains. Or call 255-2253 and you'll be glad you did.
All right, I want to make you guys aware of a couple of things that you need to be updated about. The Ozark Self-Reliant University classes that were scheduled for this weekend, there's been a slight change. The class that will be held this weekend, and the only one that will be held this weekend, is going to be held on Sunday, March 10th, at the Seventh-day Adventist Church at 1 p.m. That's the one up on Route 63. Unfortunately, the class that was supposed to be held in Thayer will not be held. That site's been changed, and they're no longer able to hold classes there. If you have a location in Thayer that would be appropriate for those classes to be held, please make sure that you contact Mike or Debbie Slack to arrange for that. The class on Sunday, March 10th, will be held at the Seventh-day Adventist Church, 1 p.m., and the specific class is on using seeds to raise your own garden plants. And the other one that will be held in Willow Springs will be next Saturday. That's the 16th, and that will be at the Ferguson Building at 1 p.m. OSLU, which is Ozark. Sorry, just had a brain freeze. OSLU classes cover a variety of heritage studies and topics that assist people in becoming more self-reliant. And basically, they teach you the things that you used to learn at home from your grandmother and your mom years ago. And so if you would like to attend any of these classes, you're certainly welcome to call for more information. You can call Mike or Debbie Slack, and that phone number is 417-264-2435. That's 417-264-2435. Now, the other thing that you need to be aware of is the 8th congressional candidate that's going to speak on March 11th. Now, that is the Property Rights Coalition group in March 11th is going to feature Bill Slants. He's the Libertarian candidate for the 8th District congressional seat, vacated by Joanne Emerson. And Kevin Jotz is the primary gentleman there. This is the Common Sense Property Rights Coalition, and they'll be meeting at 6 p.m. at the Spring Dipper Ice Cream Shop, and that's in Mammoth Spring, Arkansas, on the 11th at 6 p.m. So please make sure that you put that into your calendar so that you can attend that event. These are great opportunities for you to understand exactly where our candidates stand. And if you're not a member of an Ozark Property Rights Coalition group and the Common Sense Property Rights Coalitions, I strongly encourage you to become one, because these are the folks that are out there fighting for your rights every day. They'll also be discussing Peter Kinder's issue on this Firearms Freedom Symposium that was announced, the issue of this lawsuit that was announced at the Firearms Freedom Symposium, I should say. And also they will be having, they're working to have the other candidates who are running for public office to speak at these events in the future. That would be Steve Hodges, the Democrat, Jason Smith, the Republican, and Doug Enyart, the Constitution Party candidate. So if you have any questions about that, again, you can call Mike and Debbie Slack at 417-264-2435. It's 417-264-2435. I really would like for you folks to be involved in the PRC organizations. As you know, there's one in Mountain View. There's a Property Rights Coalition group there. There is the Property Rights Coalition group down in Thayer. There is one in Arkansas. And you can call Mike, by the way, at that phone number I just gave you for information on the Arkansas group. I don't have a location where they meet or what day they meet, but I encourage you to participate in that because it's truly informational, and it gives you the chance to work together with other folks to accomplish greater things than one individual can. So also let me remind you that we have a reloading class coming up on the 30th, and that class will be, if you're intending to come to that class, I need to hear from you sooner rather than later. In other words, immediately. That is on the 30th, and it's a reloading class. The cost will be $100. Excuse me. The cost will be $100. You'll learn everything that you need to know in a one-day class. It's probably going to be about an 8-hour program. It's on a Saturday. It'll be held here in West Plains. And you can send me email at mike@americasvoicenow.org, and please put in the subject line reloading. I'll send you the information about it so that you know that you are going to be a participating member in that class. The cost is $100. You'll learn everything that you need to know about metallic cartridge reloading right there. You'll also have an opportunity to purchase presses and things like that. Also, on the 23rd of March, which is only around the corner, our TAC 1 pistol course will be held, and if you are intending to attend that, I need to hear from you, again, immediately, if not sooner, so that I can ensure your slot there. The cost of that class is $175, and that is a 2-day course. It's a Saturday and a Sunday, and it will be held rain or shine, short of a torrential downpour or something. So the TAC 1 pistol course is an absolute necessity for you if you have ever considered wanting to better understand how to utilize a handgun. And you'll learn everything that you need to know about being operative and functional with a handgun, including how to grip, how to stance, how to draw, how to do tactical reloads, speed reloads, how to sight, how to grip the firearm, and all the basic pertinent information that's so critical to being able to function. You can send me an email to mike@americasvoicenow.org. You can also send me an email on our cooperative program. We are now taking orders for our March program, or our March order, I should say. And again, I'm going to need to hear from you by email, and I will respond to you and reply to you with all the information. I just sent out an email the other day to everyone who had expressed interest in that. And if you haven't gotten me an email so far on the cooperative program, then I need to get the information to you. This enables you to buy bulk food. And you can buy 50-pound bags of rice and beans and grains and things like that. You can also purchase salt and sugar, and all in bulk packaging. And the pricing is at wholesale, so it gives you an opportunity to feed your family. I had one fellow who actually purchased at our test or our pilot, I should say, purchase co-op order. And he did a comparison on what it would cost him to go buy the same products that we sold him, or he ordered through our co-op program, at a retail location. It was greater than 50%, folks. So if you want to talk about a way to feed yourself and your family inexpensively, this is it. If you want to think of a way that you can purchase more food than you really need for, the immediate, but you want to store some away, this is the perfect way to do that. If you're a prepper, if you are a concerned citizen who's interested in making sure that you are self-reliant and taking care of your family, then this is the right way to accomplish that. You can join our co-op program. There's no charge. There's no fees. There's no, you don't have to do anything other than basically listen to this show, because that's the way you're going to find out about it. It's an exclusive product of America's Voice Now, and we want you to be able to participate. Send me an email to mike@americasvoicenow.org, and I'll give you instructions on where you can go, where you can order, and we'll get the ball rolling for you. Okay, I do want to talk about a couple of other issues in the news. A lot of people are out there tossing stuff around about the conspiracy concepts, and oh my goodness, the Southern Poverty Law Center has now come out and said that the growth of right-wing extremist and potentially violent groups has grown by 800% and blah, 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 blah. If you've ever heard the nincompoop who runs the Southern Poverty Law Center, and you've ever watched him interviewed on TV, this is a guy who would actually make you gag. Not only because of the way his mannerisms and everything about him, but the way he talks. He makes it sound as if, everyone who utilizes the First Amendment to basically redress their grievances with their government is a potential terrorist. And I'm telling you, get onto the Southern Poverty Law Center and watch a video of this guy. You're going to want to punch him right in the nose. I mean, he's so frustrating to listen to. You almost want to yell at your television or your computer screen. But I'm going to tell you something about the idea or the thinking that goes into that. First of all, the Southern Poverty Law Center is very, very tightly allied with the Department of Justice. And you all know what I think of Eric the Traitor Holder. He and the Department of Justice work hand in hand with the Southern Poverty Law Center. And basically what it is these two groups are utilizing public and private partnership to ascertain who they want to target and go after. And I find it utterly amazing. This Southern Poverty Law Center comes up and basically everybody's a terrorist until you prove otherwise, which is the most deleterious abuse of your constitutional rights by a media organization who is funded by taxpayer dollars and by donations. And I don't even know who would donate to such an organization. This group is so far left-wing, they've fallen off the planet, people. But I'm reminded of a cartoon or something that's posted up on our Facebook page. It shows a farmer out there watching his dog rounding up sheep. And a bunch of sheep are standing there in a cluster, and one sheep is on the outside. And the sheep on the outside says, "I'm telling you, the man and the dog are definitely working together." And the other sheep are all sitting there clustered together, and one of them pipes up and says, "For God's sake, Trevor, always you with that conspiracy stuff." get onto our Facebook page. If you don't get a chuckle out of this and share this link with some friends, you are missing something great. It is absolutely so true, and it's exactly the kind of crap that we deal with on a day in and day out basis. Folks, this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is a conspiracy fact. Your government's working against you. Wake up and smell the coffee. Or in this case, the sheep dip. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. The decision to put Osama bin Laden's son-in-law on trial in a New York court has some critics fired up.
Why in the world are we treating him as if he's some common criminal?
Like South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, one of those who believes the former al-Qaeda spokesman should be tried at Guantanamo Bay, but the White House pushing back.
Article 3 courts have shown that they are in many ways, a more efficient way for us to deliver justice to those who seek to harm the United States of America.
Deputy Press Secretary Josh Earnest. Suleiman Abu Ghaith has pled not guilty to the charge of conspiring to kill Americans. And if you've woken up feeling refreshed this morning, tomorrow may be a different matter.
It's time to change the time and spring forward, though our phone and computer clocks do it automatically.
Fox Radio's Dave Anthony. The switch to daylight savings is at 2 a.m. Fox News. We report, you decide.
I'd like to thank our sponsor, Wits End Classic Barbershop, who is the sponsor of our telephone lines this morning. They're located on the square in West Plains. It's Wits End Classic Barbershop. Thanks to our friends over at West Plains Pawn and Gun. You can find them on the web at westplainspawn.com. They can be reached at 417-256-3000, and they're located on Route 160, about a mile past Walmart on the right-hand side. 400 guns undercover. Pizza Hut, our friends down there on Porter Wagoner Boulevard. They have an outstanding lunch menu with salad, pizza, and pasta. Excellent opportunity for you to have a great lunch and eat well and something tasty. Our friends over at the Battery Station at 303 Washington Avenue. You can find them on the web at batterystation.com. Telephone 417-257-7799. Our friends over at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance can be found on the web at ozarkmtnselfreliance.com. My friend Brian there can be reached at 870-492-4030. They're located a half mile east of Walmart at 3225 Route 62, Mountain Home. My friend Mary over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, the best damn bakery in 100 miles. She's right off the square in West Plains at 2 Evans Arcade, and you can reach her at 255-2253. And my friend Bill Stone over at Stone Construction. If you're considering doing remodeling, custom or new construction, or anything like commercial, give Bill a call and have him bid on your project at 293-0116.
Hi, it's Hugh Hewitt on the next Hugh Hewitt Show. I am back, and I am happy to bring you up to speed as we loom closer and closer to the sequestration, as the Cardinals begin to gather in Rome, as all sorts of news from around the world collects. I will be your Sherpa through that complexity, all on the next Hugh Hewitt Show.
Sundays from 6 till 7, following Money Talk with Bob Brinker, it's the Weekend Journal with Hugh Hewitt on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
Weather is a service of News Talk 107.1 The Point. Contact Josh or Cody at 255-2548 for more information on making weather sponsorships part of your marketing plans.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, partly sunny skies, high near 63. Winds could gust as high as 26 miles per hour. Later on, periods of showers, possibly a thunderstorm, a low around 51. Winds could gust as high as 22 miles per hour. I'm Dawn James, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
Pacific Beach Tanning and Fitness is ready to help you look and feel your best in 2013. Start with UV therapy. There's nothing like a deep warmth of a tanning bed to ease muscle and joint pain and eliminate the winter blues. Next, step into our fully equipped gym and get in a great workout. Finally, reward yourself with a session on the Power Wave massage bed. Do something great for yourself and take a trip to the beach. Pacific Beach Tanning and Fitness, 110 West Trish Knight Street, downtown West Plains.
I want to remind you guys about an event which I have been deleterious about reporting to you, and I apologize for that, because this is one event that is absolutely critical to you. There is an Appleseed shoot that is coming up in April, July, and August. And I'm going to give you these dates, and I want you to get a piece of paper out. Because this Appleseed shoot, and if you're not familiar with the Appleseed organization, you ought to be. You can find them on the web at appleseed.org. Just like, the guy Johnny Appleseed, right? It's appleseed.org. This is a project which is put on by the Revolutionary War Veterans Association, and it is all about one thing and one thing only: teaching you how to be a marksman. Wow. That's all it is. It's a rifle shoot, and it is all about learning how to be a good shot. And it's not only open to men and women, but also children. And so I really, 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 really want you to attend this. It is, here's the dates. There's a date on April 13th through the 14th, July 20 through 21, August 10 and 11. So it's a 2-day event. These are full days of very, very competent and professional instruction on firearms. And they line it with history, so if you take your children up there, boys and girls, by the way, it is really an outstanding event. And I really would like to see everyone who listens to this program take this event. There's plenty of time for you to get it on your calendar. There's 3 dates during this coming spring and summer. And if there is one thing that you have to do as a must-do as a family together, this is it. And I don't care how young your children get. I mean, they have to be obviously old enough to be able to handle a firearm. So, they've got to be, I'd guess, better than 7 or 8 years old. But this event is so important to our ability. And you know what? It has nothing to do with anything political or anything else. This is just so you can teach your son or your daughter how to be a good shot, whether that's to go out there and target shoot, whether that's to go out there and take an occasional squirrel for the dinner pot, or whether that's to go out and take a deer, or whether it's to express their Second Amendment rights, and whether or not they ever need to participate in MAD. It's all of the above. So this is being held at the Big Piney Sportsman's Club, which is up in Houston, Missouri. Now, if you've never been to the Big Piney's Club, I got to tell you, that is an outstanding range. It is a beautiful, and I do mean beautiful, facility. I've been there many times over the years. I haven't been there in a long time, but I can tell you that when I was there, it was an outstanding facility, and I can only imagine that it's gotten better. So there are some charges for it. Let me tell you what it is. Adult males, $80. Adult females, $40. Children under 18, $20. And if they accompany an adult and they're under 18, they shoot for free, as long as the adult pays. So if you're an adult female at $40 and you bring your under 18-year-old son and or daughter with you, then that particular child shoots for free. So you can look at it and look at like you're paying $20 a head. People, you are never, and I mean never, going to get this kind of level of instruction, professional instruction, for this kind of a rate. It is absolutely, I mean, look at it this way. Mom and dad can go for $120, and that means you can bring 2 kids for free. Wow. Just do the math on that. It is unbelievable as an opportunity. And I'm telling you that you will not be sorry that you took this course. Again, it runs on April 13th through the 14th, July 20th through the 21st, and August 10 and 11. And I'm going to give you a website where you can go to learn more. There's 2 different websites I'm going to give you, so I want you to have your pen and paper handy. This is held at the Big Piney Sportsman's Club. That's up in Houston, Missouri. And there's 2 different sites. One is bigpineysportsmansclub.com. And Piney is spelled P-I-N-E-Y. So it's Big, B-I-G, Piney. P like Papa, I-N-E-Y. Sportsman's, S like Sierra, P Papa, O-R-T-S-M-A-N-S like Sierra, Club, C-L-U-B.com. BigPineySportsman'sClub.com. The second one is Appleseed.org. Appleseed like Johnny Appleseed. and .org. Make sure that you visit both of these. The Appleseed.org site is the actual parent organization that sponsors these shoots. And let me tell you, they do these all over the country. But it's so great for them to come here and do one that you have no idea what a privilege this is for you to attend this thing. And I've met the folks who run Appleseed before. I've met them at different events, trade shows, and that kind of thing. And it is an outstanding chance for you to really take advantage of a great program. You cannot find better instruction for yourself and your children. And I don't care how experienced a shooter you are, there's a very, very good chance that you're going to walk out of this class with some skills that you never even knew existed. So don't cut yourself short on this. Save a few pennies up. Put your change in a jar if need be between now and April, or now and July, or now and August. And make sure that you take your... In fact, that's a great opportunity for you guys to do this together as a family. Why don't you make a commitment that we as a family are going to save up, and we're going to throw all of our change into a jar. Mom, Dad, kids. We're going to toss all our change in a jar to fund our family event at the Big Piney Sportsman's Club for the Appleseed Shoot, coming up in April 13th and 14th, July 20 and 21, and August 10 and 11. Because that means everybody's got a little skin in the game. The kids will be pumped up about it. It'll be an event that they'll be looking forward to. They've participated in it, they've contributed to it, and they're going to feel great about the opportunity to attend it. So, and when they get there, they're going to be, really looking forward to the learning experience, right? That is one of the things that makes learning, that cinches the learning that you've gathered and allows you to retain the knowledge that you have, is your excitement about the opportunity to participate and do something. And I guarantee you that if you approach your family properly on this, you will be a winner. You will be a winner. Talk to your family about it. Gather everybody around the dinner table or around the whatever it is that you all do, and say, you know what, we're going to attend this event, but we need everybody to participate, and we're going to save together as a family, and we're going to look at this like even a little 2-day vacation, and we're going to get up there and we're going to take this course, and we're going to do it as a family together. The other cool part about it is that as you take it as a family together, it gives you an opportunity to later on practice the skills that you've all learned together, because everybody learns something a little bit differently. So, you can remind your child, hey, remember what the instructor said about the way that you grip the stock, or the way that you put your cheek up against the stock, or the way that you use the sights, or the way that you use, those are really, truly important skills. And because kids don't have, the ability to retain information necessarily as well as adults, and because sometimes kids retain information better than adults because they have less distractions, maybe they'll remind you, hey, Dad, you're supposed to have your cheek a little higher or a little further forward, or maybe move your cheek back a little bit. I'm telling you, you can make this a really, truly family event that will be a blessing to everybody in your organization or family. I'm telling you, and I don't care whether they're all yours or not, make sure you attend this thing and do it as a family if possible. It'll be the best thing that could happen to you. You can also attend our Tactical 1 course that way. And, I always encourage people to do things in tandem. Do it as a husband and wife, a father and a daughter, a mother and a son, a mother and a daughter. Take these classes together, because what you learn, you can then feed off of each other and remind each other, hey, wait a minute, he told us that we should stand with our feet a little bit further apart, Mom. And, bend your knees a little bit. And remember that grip he showed us? Don't make sure you uncross your thumbs. Don't do that. Those are the kinds of things that build a bond that's a family bond, that's a social bond, that's a bond of remembrance and memory. And I promise you this, those will be the moments, those will be the times that your kids will remember as they grow older and you're long gone. That is a legacy worth leaving behind. And it doesn't have anything to do with guns. It just has to do with bonding and family. It has to do with two people taking a course, or 3 or 4 of you learning something together, educating yourselves together, and then sharing the knowledge that you collectively have gathered to reinforce. And that's a beautiful thing. I don't care whether you're fishing, whether you're learning how to fish for trout, or whether you're learning how to put together a computer, or whether you're out there, learning how to shoot skeet or target shoot. It doesn't matter. That's what makes the family bond functional. Those types of memories, those types of moments are the ones that your children will remember as they grow older. Make sure that you are doing your job as a parent and that you're not abdicating your responsibility to them because you're busy or you're swamped or your job pressures are on or you're trying to figure out how to pay the mortgage and make the monthly nut. I get it. That's frustrating and it's stressful. And right now, all of these things that are going on around us make us full of fear and trepidation, and we don't really know what to do next. But I can tell you this. The one thing that you can do that will make a lasting impression on your children is work with them on things like that. When I take my son down to learn how to shoot a bow, I feel like that's the first time he and I have actually put some time together on something that we both enjoy. I'm telling you, it's worth it. We'll be right back.
I know what you're thinking, punk. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5?
Dirty Harry gets all his ammo from the battery station. John Rambo, you guessed it. He gets his ammo from the battery station, too. So if you need ammo, go to the place where the guys who know about ammunition go, the battery station. They have one of the largest supplies of ammunition in the area. So make sure you're stocked up and don't get low on shells. Go to the battery station at 303 Washington Avenue in West Plains.
The area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry. Top-of-the-line handguns from Kimber, Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Glock, Beretta, and many more. A wide selection of ammunition including blanks, centerfire handgun and rifle, rimfire, a variety of shotgun shells, target, and turkey. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at...
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and the Donut Palace is open at 5 a.m. every day.
The best donuts made fresh daily like Long John's, Eclairs, Bear Claws, and old-fashioned donuts. Try a hot and fresh bacon, egg, and cheese croissant or a kolache sandwich for breakfast and pair it up with some Starbucks coffee.
Start your morning right with the Donut Palace. And for the busy people, the drive-thru can get you your order even quicker. Located at 914 Broadway in West Plains, the Donut Palace, where the customer is still king.
Another year older, another birthday blood. Not when you're listening to the Birthday Club here on 107.1 The Point each morning during the morning show. Proudly presented by Ryan's Family Restaurant. Call in your loved ones, your mom, dad, grandma, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, nieces, whoever, for their chance to be the winner of a great buffet and drink from Ryan's Family Restaurant. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you from 107.1 The Point and Ryan's Family Restaurant.
Hey, guess what? Right after I just got done talking about this opportunity for you guys to do this as a family, John calls up and he wants to tell you what his experience was, which I found, I'm telling you, I was talking to him on the commercial break and I'm pumped. Hey, John, welcome to the show.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome.
I just wanted to tell you and tell everybody else, it's a great thing. I've done the NRA training down, I'm in Arkansas, and I've done the NRA training, and I've also done the 4-H training down in Little Rock for teaching children how to shoot, and I've also done the APSC. I've done the APSC twice. I went back the second time just for the stories. I took my 12-year-old daughter at the time.
Did you say you went back the second time just for the stories?
Yeah, just for the stories. They'll tell stories about the Revolutionary Wars, and different trainers will tell and concentrate on different things.
Right.
But they tell stories about the key players that played in, And in fact, I just finished reading a book called William Drum's Drum. I think it's Drum or something. I'll try to post a link on your Facebook.
Okay.
It's a free PDF download, and it's about the 16-year-old drummer boy that ran the long drum, called the Militia to Arms in Lexington. And it is a great book. It's, just read that, go to the classes. I can't, take your 10-year-old kid, my 9-year-old girl's dying to go. It's a great opportunity.
How many
kids? They do a lot of good hands-on for the kids.
How many kids do you have, John?
I have 5 little girls.
And so you take your daughters up there. And tell us a little bit about the Appleseed people and how they operate.
Oh, they're great. They really work well with the kids. In fact, my daughter got her rifleman certification the first time she went. She, she was really. I mean, they participated with her. They worked with her.
Now she's 9.
No, she was 12 at the time. My 9-year-old's dying to go. She
Okay.
can't wait,
So let me ask you this: is there an age limit, young wise, or is there like do they want them not under a certain age?
I thought that it was 8 years old.
8.
I think
Okay.
it was 8 years old.
Okay.
You have to check on the website. I've forgotten since then. But my oldest daughter at the time was a 4-H shooter, and so I figured she was good enough to go. And also, it comes down to responsibility, and if your child.
Absolutely, and they learn gun safety, right? And they hear it from somebody other than mom and dad. So that's a great thing, you know.
And I was her trainer, and so she didn't really take me as serious, and so.
Well, sure, because they hear us tell them to take out the garbage too, and they don't like that. And clean their room and do their laundry, right? So and brush their teeth.
Yep, it never works.
No, but this way they're getting somebody else who reinforces what they learned at home, right, about gun safety and things like that. So, and when it comes from somebody else, we all know we don't want to necessarily agree with it, but we all know it to be true. That they listen sometimes better to somebody else, right? So, hey, that's great. So, thank you so much for this call because you just reinforced exactly what I was talking about, and you're living proof of it. That's an even better part. That you and I don't know you, John. I mean, you're listening to what I'm saying, and you're like, hey, that's me.
Yeah.
And I am so glad that you called because I really, I want people to understand how important these types of things can be. And you know something? Your daughter, who's now 12, and the one who you're going to be bringing when she's 9, this is the kind of thing that they are going to remember and look back upon in later years and have that little inside smile.
Oh yeah, they can't wait. It's a whole weekend of just us playing, and we get together. And
now, is this
something I like to do, and I get to share with them?
Do you have to attend it for 2 days, or is it just do you attend it?
You can do just Saturdays, you can do just Sundays, or you can do both days.
Okay, and is it a daily fee or is the fee
it's
once?
$80 for the weekend, or it's $40 for the single day.
I got you.
There is the military discount. And
right, military and law enforcement shoot for free.
Yeah, they were for free. I couldn't remember exactly.
Yeah, military and law enforcement are free.
And sometimes there's a range fee. I've gone to the ones in Arkansas.
Well, the one I do know this that there is a $5 range fee, for the day up at Big Piney, which is I mean, gee whiz, you can drop $5 pulling into McDonald's. So skip the cheeseburger for the day and pay your fee at Big Piney, right? So
and they kind of come up with any reason to get you a discount. So
I got it.
If you don't fit any of those things, then
tell them.
Pay, but
right, I got you. They'll work with you to try to make it affordable. You know what? Yeah. What I like about the idea of this, John, if you don't live near Houston, right, and it's going to be a 2-day event, make a family day out of it. Take the family and go camping, or maybe stay at a hotel up there. And that's why I said maybe everybody get together and for the next couple of months, throw your change in a jar, and make the kids feel like they got something to look forward to. Like you were just telling us that your 9-year-old is really pumped up about this, and she's looking forward to it. And this is because she's seen her older sister go through it, right? And now she's excited about the opportunity to be there. And, I mean, I get it. Finances are tight right now. People think, wow, how am I going to afford, maybe $120 or $125? And then, what are we going to do? We got to spend the night in a hotel and all that, and it's expensive. I get it, So, but you know what? If you do it together as a family and you all feel like you're pitching in, the kids will be remembering that this is something that they participated in and had some decision-making ability in too, right? So, I mean, I'm telling you that if there's one thing that makes kids feel important, it's when they have input. And this is a way that you can let them have input no matter how young or old they are, and make them feel like they've got a little bit of empowerment, right? So that this is something that they're not only making a decision about positively, but also participating and contributing to. That's what makes kids feel empowered, and empowered in a positive way, not a I ain't taking out that garbage and there's nothing you can do to make me kind of way, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, thank you so much for the call, John. I appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
And thanks for listening, too. I appreciate that. All right.
Love it.
You have a great day. Thanks so much. Hey, that was a great call, guys. And he called in while the break was on, and I just couldn't help but make sure I got him on the air for you because he's a living example of what I just spent the last 10 minutes talking about. So, okay, I'm going to give this information to you one more time. And if you don't have a pen and paper in your hand by now, I'm going to punch you in the nose through the airwaves. It's Big Piney Sportsman's Club. That's where this event is going to be held. It's an Appleseed shoot. That's what they call it. And it is the dates are April 13 and 14, July 20 and 21, and August 10 and 11. The cost is $80 for an adult male, $40 for an adult female, $20 if they're under 18, but if they attend with a parent and the parent participates, then the kids are free. If you're law enforcement or active military, the shoot is free to you too. There's a $5 range fee, and that's pretty much it. You can find information about this by going to the websites for both Appleseed and the Big Piney Sportsman's Club. And so Big Piney is Big Piney Sportsman's Club, and that's Sportsman, M-A-N-S, club.com. So it's bigpineysportsmansclub.com. The other one is appleseed.org, and it's just like the guy's name from the storybooks, Johnny Appleseed. So make sure that you get yourself prepared and you put this on your calendar and you make a family event and a family time out of it. I promise you, it will hand you big blessings. Okay? Okay. Glenn, thank you for reminding me to talk about this, and thank you for bringing it to my attention. I forget sometimes, and Glenn is a guy who is really heavily involved in this type of thing, and he's the one who brought it to my attention, and I'm grateful that he did, and then called me up to not only kick me in the slats to remind me to talk about it. So thank you. Okay, the ACLU, I want to just run over a couple of quick bullet points, and then we're going to be joined by Peter Kinder, Lieutenant Governor from Missouri. He's going to be joining us after the top of the hour to talk about this issue with Missouri's Real ID and how our state government and our motor vehicle division and the Department of Revenue are betraying us and you. They are doing an end run around our state prohibition against the institution of Real ID. They are betraying us, and I mean it in the treasonous sense of the word. And I am appalled, shocked, angry, and I'm actually not angry. I'm volcanic. I'm livid about the fact that our state government is so desperate to betray us that they would violate the law to do so. And I'm telling you, heads should be rolling. Heads should be rolling from somebody in the Department of Revenue, and not one person. I want a full-blown investigation. I want to know what scum is responsible for telling our license offices to break the law and capture our information. And I'm telling you, we should be dealing with this as a criminal offense. Criminal, not civil. I want people in prison for this. It is treason, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Kinder's going to join us. I'm going to run over a couple of quick news stories. I think he's calling us at 8:15, and we're going to have him for an update on what's happening with this. I'm going to be just as clear about this investigative issue with him as I just was with you. And I would like to see action and responsible action. And I want to see some heads on a platter. Okay? And I think you should too. And we'll make sure that we get our message through to our state representatives. The days of your abusing us and trampling all over us and our rights is done. You owe us an allegiance and loyalty because you work for us. That's a fact. We're going to be back in just a minute. You're listening to America's Voice Now.
Let's get to the point.
Well, let me get to the point.
FM News Talk for the Ozarks is FM 107.1, The Point, KBMV.
News Radio.